ओम वनमास समुल्लासाय नमः। ओम वनवीरैकल्लोलुपाय नमः। ओम तेजपुंज घनाकाराय नमः। ओम तेजसामपि भासकाय नमः। ओम विनेयानां तेजप्रदाय नमः। ओम ओम दमिकानंग संग्रामाय नमः। ओम दरहासच्युतांगनाय नमः। ओम दयार्ष सुधा सिंधवे नमः। ओम दरिद्रधनशेवदये नमः। ओम क्षीरेन्दुस्फटिकाकाराय नमः। ओम क्षीरेन्दुमुकुटोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ओम क्षीरोपहाररसिकाय नमः। ओम क्षिप्रैश्वर्यफलप्रदाय नमः। ओम नानाभरणमुग्धांगाय नमः। ओम नारी सम्मोहनाकृतये नमः। ओम नादब्रह्मरसास्वादिने नमः। ओम नागभूषणभूषिताय नमः। ओम मूर्तिनिन्दतकन्दर्पाय नमः। ओम मूर्तामूर्तजगत्वपुषे नमः। ओम मूलाज्ञानतानभनोभवे नमः। ओम मूर्तिमत्कल्पपादपाय नमः। ओम तरुणादित्यसङ्काशाय नमः। ओम तन्त्रीवादनतत्पराय नमः। ओम तरुमूलैकनिलयाय नमः। ओम तप्तुजाम्बूनदप्रभाय नमः। ओम तत्त्वपुस्तोलसत्पाणये नमः। ओम तपनोडुजपलोचनाय नमः। ओम यमसंयुतसत्कीर्तये नमः। ओम यमसंयमसंयुताय नमः। ओम यतिरूपधराय मौनिने नमः। ओम यतीन्द्रोपासविग्रहाय नमः। ओम मंदारहाररुचिराय नमः। ओम मदनायुतसुन्दराय नमः। ओम मंदस्मितलसत्वक्त्राय नमः। ओम मधुराधरपल्लवाय नमः। ओम मंजीरमञ्जुपादाब्जाय नमः। ओम मणिपट्टोलसत्कटये नमः। ओम हस्ताङ्कुरितचिन्मुद्राय नमः। ओम हठरागुप्तोन्नताय नमः। ओम हंसजप्यक्षमालाढ्याय नमः। ओम हंसेद्वारादिपादुकाय नमः। ओम मेरुशृङ्गतटोल्लासाय नमः। ओम मेघश्याममनोहराय नमः। ओम मेधाङ्कुरालवालाग्र्याय नमः। ओम मेधापक्वफलद्रुमाय नमः। ओम धार्मिकान्तर्गुहावासाय नमः। ओम धर्ममार्गप्रवर्तकाय नमः। ओम धामत्रयनिजारामाय नमः। ओम धर्मोत्तममनोरथाय नमः। ओम प्रबोधोद्गारदीपश्रिये नमः। ओम प्रकाशितजगत्र्याय नमः। ओम प्रज्ञाचन्द्रशिलाचन्द्राय नमः। ओम प्रज्ञामणिवराकराय नमः। ओम ज्ञानान्तरभासात्मने नमः। ओम ज्ञातृज्ञातिविदुर्गाय नमः। ओम ज्ञानज्ञाद्वैतदिव्यांगाय नमः। ओम ज्ञातृज्ञातिकुलागताय नमः। ओम प्रपन्नपारिजाताग्र्याय नमः। ओम प्रणतार्थब्धिवाडवाय नमः। ओम भूतानां प्रमाणभूताय नमः। ओम प्रपञ्चहितकारकाय नमः। ओम यत्तत्त्वमसि संवेद्याय नमः। ओम यक्षगेयात्मवैभवाय नमः। ओम यज्ञादिदेवतामूर्तये नमः। ओम यजमानवपुर्धराय नमः। ओम छत्राधिपतिविश्वेशाय नमः। ओम छन्दशास्त्रसेविताय नमः। ओम छन्दशास्त्रादिनिपुणाय नमः। ओम छालजात्यादिदूर्गाय नमः। ओम स्वाभाविकसुखैकात्मने नमः। ओम स्वानुभूतिरसोदये नमः। ओम स्वाराज्यसम्पदध्यक्षाय नमः। ओम स्वात्माराममहामतये नमः। ओम हाटकावजटाजूटाय नमः। ओम हासोदस्तारिमण्डलाय नमः। ओम हारोहरोज्ज्वलगलाय नमः। ओम हार्दग्रन्थिविमोचकाय नमः। ओम श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्तिस्वामिने नमः। ओम श्री श्रीमत्परमहंस हरिचार्यवर्य श्री दयानंद सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्री महेशानंद सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः।
on and off maybe?
When you lift it up, that seems to help.
Yeah.
You put it on something. Some connection lose,
I guess we'll just have to reduce the volume a little bit then.
It's a shame. Sometimes this cable starts going after a while. We may have to replace this part. I can get another.
Okay. Yeah, maybe
It
reduce.
was working, right?
Yeah, maybe reduce the volume
Yeah,
just a
sure,
little
sure.
bit. Yeah.
The humming is there, but
It's funny, it was gone for a while, but came back.
yeah, when you're touching it, it's going, so something is. That's fun.
Some capacitive effect.
I don't know, I'm trying out different things.
Yeah.
No, it's just a wire that.
Oh well.
That turn it off.
Yeah, maybe turn it off. I'll just have to speak louder.
Where's this noise coming?
Still got the hum. Still got the hum. Oh, now it's gone. Well, no, it's not. It's just because of touching these capacitors.
All right.
If it improves, I leave it on.
Huh? Leave it
I
on?
This one on.
Oh, that one on.
No.
At least we know it's coming from there now.
Yeah.
Actually, I do have a different kind of, anyway, okay, now we know at least that, yeah, it's time to replace this, probably in a few years
Yeah,
now.
maybe, yeah.
Right, let's do it.
Okay, I'll do it.
Let's see. A few minutes left for meditation, maybe a short meditation. Om Namaste Astu Bhagavan Vishveshwaraya Mahadevaya Triambakaya Tripurantakaya Trikalagnikalaya Kalagnirudraya Neelakantaya Mrityunjayaya Sarveshwaraya Sadashivaya Shriman Mahadevaya Namaha. meditation, I seek the support of Brahman, Ishvara, both Saguna Brahman and Nirguna Brahman. Saguna Brahman and Nirguna Brahman are the personality and the person respectively. The Saguna Brahman personality of Ishvara is the entire cosmos and the laws of the cosmos, including the birth of various individuals, their life, the limits of the life, and the effect of prarabdha in their lives. The laws governing the entire cosmos is the personality of Brahman or Ishvara. Nirguna Brahman, the person behind the personality, is untouched by the personality. The personality can be seen as a role, and the person is seen to be the actor that is not touched by the role. So I meditate on the support of both Saguna Brahman and Nirguna Brahman. As we progress in our understanding of the teaching of Vedanta, I meditate upon making an important switch and that switch is to replace Saguna Brahman and Nirguna Brahman by Saguna I and Nirguna I. This switch, this transference is not just an assumption, it is in fact true. In the transference of Saguna Brahman to Saguna I, the only difference is the Saguna Brahman is the management of the entire universe, whereas the Saguna I is the management of the laws and forces that affect me. And the meditation on Saguna I consists of managing to some extent the laws and forces that affect me. It is to have a healthy relationship through understanding and acceptance. I need to do what I can to keep a healthy relationship with the Saguna I. Here, my prayers and actions are consistent with understanding and acceptance. Understanding at various levels and acceptance at the same levels. At the physical level, understanding how to keep my physicality healthy, my body, my sense organs, all of the prana elements, digestion, sleep, healthy. Learning to keep it healthy. And acceptance of the fact that I cannot have a perfect body. It is not necessary to have a perfect body. It is neither possible nor necessary. Just a relative understanding and acceptance is all I am seeking. Similarly, with respect to my mind, my subtle body, I apply understanding and acceptance to it also. Keeping the mind healthy understanding the laws of keeping the mind healthy. As we have seen, a healthy mind means a non-reacting mind, a mind which is forgiving, which is loving, which is accommodating both the others' transgressions as well as my own transgressions, my own mistakes. If things go wrong, then bringing the mind back to its state rapidly, not letting it linger on, etc. This is the understanding of a healthy mind. I meditate on the fact that a healthy mind is like a well-kept garden, and a reacting, unthinking mind are like weeds in the garden. I have to tend to it and keep it beautiful and healthy. And I also apply acceptance to the mind, because like the body, the mind also is never going to be perfect. That is the nature of Saguna Brahman, Saguna I. So in summary, I meditate upon, and by meditating, it means I pay attention to the Saguna I. If I do a reasonably good job of doing it, I can pay attention to the switch between Nirguna Brahman and Nirguna I. Here, unlike the difference between Saguna Brahman and Saguna I, which is the entire cosmic set of laws, rather than the application of these cosmic laws just to myself. There is a slight difference between the Saguna Brahman and Saguna I. Unlike that, there is no difference between Saguna Brahman and Saguna. There is no difference, rather, between Nirguna Brahman and Nirguna I. They are exactly the same. There is no cosmic Brahman and an individual I. It is just the same. So my meditations, my attention, my awareness consists of these two types of meditation, and the connection between these two types of meditations is that the first type, which is the Saguna, needs to be kept healthy so that I can focus on the Nirguna. As an example, this is obvious. You cannot meditate on anything, let alone yourself, if your body is in pain. Similarly, if your mind is unhealthy, with reactions and desires, you cannot meditate on yourself. So there is a subtle connection between Saguna and Nirguna. May I understand all this and shape my meditations accordingly. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyoma Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Ukarastvandakaro Vai Ukarastvannivartakaha Andakara Nirodhitva Guru Nitya Vidhiyate Sadashiva Samarambha Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us chant these 3 verses from the Karika, 30, 31 and 32. Let's try this again.
Is it long enough to maybe put it somewhere else?
Maybe
Let me see
can you
if I
bring
can
that-
just, yeah.
Yeah, bring that table.
It's touching.
It's very touchy. I think this connection is a.
Yeah, I think Raj is right. This needs to be.
New cable.
Aha.
My
Good.
magic touch. No,
Why did you step on?
I don't think it's gonna.
I think for this class the sound will be okay. For the other one I may have to speak a little louder.
It's pretty loud.
Is it okay?
Yeah, it's pretty loud. It's just
Okay.
got the buzzer.
So verses 30, 31 and 32. Etairesho pritak bhavaihi. Etairesho pritak bhavaihi.
Etariresho pruthak bhavaihi.
Pritak geveti lakshitaha.
Pruthak eveti lakshitaha.
Evam yo vedat tatvena.
Evam yo vedat tatvena.
Kalpayet so vishankitaha.
Kalpayet so vishankitaha.
Swapnamaye yatha drishte.
Swapnamaye yatha drishte.
Gandharva nagaram yatha
Gandharvanagaram yatha.
तथा विश्वमिदं दृष्टम्
तथा विश्वमिदं दृष्टम्.
वेदान्तेषु विचक्षिणैः
वेदान्तेषु विचक्षणैः.
न निरोधो न चोत्पत्तिः
न निरोधो न चोत्पत्तिः.
न बद्धो न च साधकः
न बद्धो न च साधकः.
न मुमुक्षुर्न वै मुक्तः
न मुमुक्षुर्न वै मुक्तः.
इत्येषा परमार्थता.
इत्येषा परमार्थता.
So what we saw for a series of verses starting with 16 all the way up to 29 were the belief systems in the world. The various belief systems that I think this is it, this is what we need to do, this is what should be done, this is what I believe in, this is the truth about it. And so those were all talked about and so on. And now the So that was all negated in the sense that this is what people believe in. This is what we all believe in when we are born. We have different choices and we stick to one or the other of the choices. And ultimately they are not really very useful. And the reason why they were not useful were pointed out. So now with the verse number 30, what should one believe in? Is there a possibility of something that would lead me to a permanent peace and so on? Because we're not looking for a partial freedom, we're looking for a total freedom. That is the quest. So that being the case, what kind of a system will give us a complete freedom? This is now being analyzed. So verse number 30 starts with saying, Etaihi eshaha aprithak bhavaihi. Aprithak bhavaihi means one which is not separate. Prithak eva iti lakshitaha. The one which is really not separate from the reality, but looks like it is separate from the reality. The one who is able to explain this very clearly and make people understand this fact is the one you should follow. This is the essence of this verse, an important verse. So, Swami Paramarthananda's translation, this Atma is considered to be separate from these objects which are really not separate from the Atma. One who really knows thus expounds the Vedas as it should be done, with clarity. So this is what it said. So here we can see, this is where some of the examples are very important in Vedanta. The gold and the ornaments and so on. And in this context, a reflection in the mirror is the one that applies to this concept very well. What concept? That one which appears to be separate, but it is not. This is the example, this is the concept that we should look at. So let's look at it how. So what it means is that if you look at your reflection in the mirror, then it does appear to be different from you. You give it some reality. You give it enough reality to actually derive certain facts from it. You see, this is an important thing to see. This is the premise of the Vedanta, the premise of the very definition of Maya, very definition of Mithya, is that it is not non-existent. Mithya doesn't mean that it is non-existent. Because you cannot derive, if I am shaving in the morning, as I do, then I have to rely on my reflection to tell me if I am shaving right or am I going some wrong direction. Similarly, if the women are putting lipstick on, then it is important for them to look at a very clear reflection to see whether the lipstick is being put on accurately or not. So what it means is that reflection does have some reality. Because if it is not there, you couldn't rely on it to make any decisions. You cannot just close your eyes and just pretend. No. So the reflection does have some reality and furthermore has a lot of utility, some functionality. So as such, it has a separate seeming reality, a separate seeming existence, separate existence. It has it, no doubt about it. Because unless you see the reflection as being separate from you, you cannot really do any of the functions that we just described. So it has it. The fact of the matter, however, is that the reflection is not separate from you. Even though it looks separate from you, it is not separate from you. How can we say that? You can easily test it by moving yourself. It has no independent reality. Just like an ornament has no independent reality from its content, which is either silver or gold. Similarly, just like a pot has no independent reality from the clay, in fact, it derives everything from its content. Similarly, here also, the reflection derives its entire existence on you. It cannot separately move. You cannot move away and the reflection is still there. At the moment you move, the reflection moves. And if you move far enough away from the mirror, the reflection disappears. Totally dependent on you. So, this verse says that one who points this out is making you head in the right direction. Not the ones who first believe that there is an independent reality such as time, such as devas, devatas, all the things that we talked about, the long list of things that Gaudapadacharji, lokan loka vidaha prahuhu, ashrama iti tadvidaha, kalaha iti kala vidaha, disha iti cha tadvidaha, vada iti cha vad, etc., etc. All of those, as though it has a separate reality. And you can detail those separate realities up to a point. It is like describing the nature of your reflection. You can say the reflection appears to be here and it is affected by the light flowing and the dirt, all those kinds of things you can say. But ultimately, until you end up saying that the reflection is non-separate from you, you are not seeing the reality. And also another thing is, this is a very interesting thing about the whole analysis of Maya and Mithya is an important one. So one of the aspects of the Maya and Mithya is that it is not as though it is not there, again repeating myself, it's just that it has a lower level of reality than you do. So if you look at a reflection, it has some existence, some level of reality is there, but it is a lower level of reality than you do. This is the one that we have to appreciate. Then we have to now extend this logic. This is the fundamental logic. What is the fundamental logic? That whatever you perceive, so the reflection is just an example, but you have to extend it to say that whatever you perceive appears to be independent, but it isn't. It isn't. So don't be hung up in assuming that if it was not real, I would not see it. This is our mind just shuts us off and says, what are you talking about? people are bothering me, the world is bothering me. And unless I think it is, and because it is bothering me, must be real. So the whole process of going through and understanding yourself is to follow the logic of the Shastra. Follow the logic of the Shastra. In fact, it's very interesting. I want to spend a couple of minutes on this. So when I was really reading this and absorbing it, really a lot of things came together in terms of this. So here's the example that we have seen some examples of that, but Swami Mahesharanji gave this example. Let me pull it out from when he was mentioning it. Yeah. So he was he was saying that we get confused about, because we have not really followed the logic, we make a detour into confusion. We take a wrong turn. How? This is a very interesting example. So, you go to a 3D movie. And the 3D movies that are specially meant for displaying on 3D give you those kinds of scenes where it frightens you and so on. So Swamiji was saying, he must have seen, I don't know if he saw a 3D movie or not, but he's mentioning that. He passed away in about 2006, so possibly he may have seen it. But a lot of his examples are very modern world examples. He talks about Mercedes-Benz, BMW, all those things they're very familiar with. So he gives this example. He says that suppose you're sitting there and you are, this is a movie because you bought a ticket and now you're seeing this 3D movie. And a tiger jumps at you. And immediately you duck or close your eyes or something. And then you kind of, then the person sitting next door to you, he says, hey, why did you do that? Why did you do that? He says, well, the thing is, he gives this explanation. I know that the tiger is not real, but does the tiger know that I am also not real? He may think that I am real. And I may think that he is unreal, so I'm not quite sure of that. So I just ducked. This is exactly like that story that Swami Viditatmanandaji had told us. That there was this couple and this man was having hallucinations that I am a cat and so I am not going to go outside. So they took him to a psychiatrist and so on and so forth. And the psychiatrist says, do you mew like a cat? He says, no, I just don't. So you're not a cat. So then you should be. So he says, okay, I'm not a cat. So after meal and so on, so his wife said, let's go out for a walk now. He says, no, I cannot go out. Why? Because I know I'm not a cat, but the dogs, do they know that I am not a cat? They might still think that I'm a cat. This is a very good example, I tell you. Why? Because Swamiji says, do not depend upon your own logic. This is an important point. Let's just dwell on this for a minute. So we employ logic for making decisions. Reason. So the entire science is looking for a real creation. How did it come about? Logic. If consciousness is there, then I must be able to see it being evolved. Logic. So all of these kinds of things, we depend upon the logic. So what it means is we depend upon our mind. We depend upon our mind. Now the mind is like a dreamer who is trying to understand the dream while in the dream. This cannot be done. You cannot, while you are dreaming, you cannot argue yourself out of the dream. Not possible. Why is that? The reason is that the mind that you are using to argue and to be logical itself is illogical. This is an important point. See, you think that my mind and my logic, so you look at the scientific analysis and so on and so forth, you say that is all pakka, that is absolutely pakka, that is sure. Now the question is, how do I apply that for making decisions? What is real, what is not real, and so on. What I don't realize is that even a mind which appears to be logical ultimately is illogical. So what has to be done? What has to be done is, you cannot negate your dream as long as you are in the dream. You have to leave the whole dream for you to say that it was fake. The question is, how do I leave the dream? You need some mechanism for waking up. And Ishvara has given us an automatic mechanism. You cannot sleep more than a few hours. Sooner or later, it automatically you wake up. This is a blessing for you, because if you keep on dreaming, then you will be in a false, because you have a life to lead. There is another dream that you need to go to. You see, it's waiting for you. You are switching dreams, that's another thing. But just in the context of your dream and your waking, you cannot analyze that your dream was false until you wake up. Okay? So this is an important thing to see. It really kind of dawned on me just yesterday when I was reading this. We talked about the 3 filters of understanding. Do you remember what those were?
Shruti, Yukti, and
Exactly. Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhava. These are the 3 filters. So you know what this means? It just dawned on me. That you cannot rely, it's not dawned on me that this is my, it's something I discovered. And it's not that. But all the things that the Shastra has been saying finally put together for me in my mind. What they're saying is, do not rely on yukti alone. You cannot rely on Shruti alone. Why not? Because that will be your trying to understand the dream while you are in the dream. You can't do that. Because anything that you do is pertaining to the realm of the dream itself. And it has a certain reality to it. We don't, because the dreams does frighten you, and just like the reflection has some existence, the dream also has some existence, but not the one that lasts. We are all interested in finding an existence and happiness and truth which lasts, which is real, which doesn't go away. You know, this is just digressing for a second before, because I haven't finished that logic. I want to finish that logic. But I think Swami Meshananji has pointed out that really speaking, any sense of ownership is false, because ultimately that is removed from you. Any worldly existence, any worldly ownership, not existence, but ownership, is really a loan to you. The only ownership you don't have to return is your own swarupa. Anything that you possess is really not, you do not own it. It is lent to you for a long time. Anyway, so that was one thing. So going back to the logic, so pure yukti is not useful, but a yukti consistent with shruti takes you out of the dream. This is an important thing. It takes you out of the dream. It is like someone saying, wake up. It's time for you to wake. An alarm clock is enough to break up your dream. But if you see the alarm clock in the dream, it's not going to wake you up. Supposing you dream that I'm having an alarm clock, and you shut the alarm clock, you're still in the dream. You haven't woken up yet. So this is an important thing. I finally realized something hadn't quite clicked in my mind. How should they say that yukti must be consistent with the shruti and anubhava, of course. Then alone it is capable of waking you up. Until then, you have doubts that nag. That means your understanding is not clear. This is why when you saw the tiger lunging at you in the 3D, you can make stupid excuses that I know it is not real, but just in case it might be real, I just thought just ducked anyway. And the same thing about an understanding of this husband who thinks he's a cat, and he says, I think I'm not a cat, but the dogs know. So this is an interesting thing, because we often have this feeling that, I know Vedanta says you are very peaceful and you are free and so on and so forth. But the others don't know that. And they make life very difficult for me. This is exactly the same thing as saying, I know that I am not a cat, but do the dogs know I am not a cat? This is exactly the same situation. That means you don't understand yet. You're not clear about yourself. You're bothered by others, by your behavior in the world and so on and so forth. And so that is just partial understanding. So this is the this closes off this topic, and the topic is that you need to find a understanding, a knowledge, a set of teaching, etc., which you have to employ your logic to understand, but it has to be done outside of your normal understanding. This is the Shruti and Yukti coming together. This is an important thing to see. It really, just lit up some lamps in my mind. So there, going back to it, this was just part of the discussion. I kind of went ahead a little bit. But going back to this, in verse number 30, it says that unless you see and analyze the basis of the reflection, how the reflection should be seen, and extend that logic which is sanctioned by Shruti. You see, now I can close the loop on this, because the normal average person who is not schooled says that if I see something, then it must be real. If the world bothers me, then the world must be real, because otherwise I won't be bothered. And so the Shruti says no. Ultimately, Shruti says, you are lending your support and acquiescence to the world. You are the one that is giving it credibility. How? Just like you are giving credibility to a reflection. The reflection is hanging on to you. You think, as long as you give it some reality, it will have its reality. But the moment you understand that its level of reality is lower than yours, like a dream is a lower reality than the waking up. So start, and yes, it will take a while. This is the difference between waking up from your dream and becoming a Jivan Mukta. This is the thing, because a dream is your own creation, and it is just a not very well done. You just come up with some combination of scenes and memories, and but they're enough to bother you and so on. But you can get out of it very quickly. This dream has a little bit more substance, because it is shared by a number of people. It has been very well done, and it has a lot of continuity from your previous life. So it is a lot of prarabdha. All of those things are there. All said and done, though, even though it is a much more realistic looking dream, it is still a dream. But you cannot understand it as a dream until you rely on Shruti to pull you out of the dream. So this is how the verse number 30 says that, now look at this, now you can see this. Etaihi eshaha aprithak bhavaihi prithak eva iti lakshitaha. It appears. Evam yaha veda tattvena. One who is able to see and the see from a standpoint of truthfulness. That is the teaching you should follow. Not the other teachings that appear to be okay, but they are not. So this is an important verse that takes us away back from this long list of things. And how is Vedanta any different than that? He says that it is different from that because that is the very nature of creation. Ishvara, as I told you, he has no other, the paints that the painter Ishvara does in order to create this whole creation is the existence of mithya and the existence of the difference between reality and less than reality, aviveka. This is how it is done. So appreciate it. So that's the 31. And here what is said is that, like Swami Meshamji goes quite a bit into this. He says, you go to a movie and in fact, one of the things to support the analysis of mithya is going to a movie. Because if someone argues that because the world bothers me, therefore it must be real, there is a contradiction to that, which is going to a movie and being affected by things in the movie. If this woman is being hounded by some scoundrels, you also cringe. You say, oh, I hope she can escape. And she doesn't. And she is held together and abused and so on. You feel terrible. But it's not real. But you still feel terrible. So feeling terrible doesn't mean that it is real. And you buy a ticket. It's interesting. My wife will sometimes say, do you want to see this movie? And our conversation is, what is it all about? And she says, it's very interesting, her logic is, everybody seems to like it. I said, what is it all about? And if it has the slightest tragedy, I said, no, I don't want to see it. The whole world is tragic anyway, and this is a whole movie. Why should I have to have another tragic thing and for so on and so forth? But people do. People do. They go to movies to cry and to laugh and to this, that or the other. And Swami, I'm just telling you about Swami Meshanand. It's very interesting. So he says that then you come out of the movie and then you say, how was it? So the person says, kind of waste of time. Really, it was not as good as I thought it would be. And I don't know, these movies these days, they're not building any good, making some good movies and so on, 2 days later, you go to another movie. Same thing. Hey, you said that these days the movies are, he says, no, but this might be better. Swamiji says, as all the Vedantic Acharyas say, beginning a life is like buying a ticket to a movie. You take a birth, you buy a ticket to the movie, thinking that this will be interesting. It will be entertaining. You have aspirations. What if I do this? At the end of the life, you say, that was useless. What did I accomplish? I thought that I would do this. My children don't respect me. I've lost money, and I'm bothering everybody. This is useless life. There must be a better movie. You take another life. Exactly the same thing. Swamiji says there is no difference. Please see this. So that's the situation. So, and then during the movie, things happen that you don't want things to happen. So this is exactly what happens in our life also because of the effect of prarabdha. You cannot, that's Swami Paramarthananda says, it's uncontrollable. And it just happens by itself, not to your liking. And so the movie has ending that is not pleasant. It's a movie. And then you say, you know what, I'm tired of it. I just want to leave. Either you commit suicide or you die a natural death. All the older people, you see, really ask them, what do you want? He says, I just want to leave. I've finished this life and I'm bothering my kids and grandkids. I just want to leave. And, but you think, but the other thing is if you say, do you want to go out forever? No. Because you feel there's some existence for me. There must be a better life than this. So God gives me a better one, hopefully. Another movie. This is exactly what happens. But the fact of the matter is that the best thing to do is to understand that the life is a movie that you are watching. Who are you that is watching the movie? It is very much like you have an independent existence apart from your reflection. And yes, you are watching the reflection, you are utilizing the reflection for shaving or lipsticks or whatever it is, all that is there. But don't take it that seriously. Not as seriously as you're taking that you should be taking yourself. So similarly, the waking up means to understand who you really are and the fact that anything that you see, anything that you see or touch or feel or smell is mithya. Anything. And that includes your own mind, by the way. That's the interesting thing that we have to say. So you cannot even rely on your own thoughts except if the thoughts accurately track the Shruti. And the Shruti is never going to mislead you. Shruti is going to say, no, you are completely separate from it. See it. So you need the mind to understand it, you see? You need the mind to understand it. So the mind has also two different states. One is pure yukti, and the other one is Shruti-based yukti. So use the Shruti-based yukti. Not as though the Ishvara would not have given us the mind unless we have the ability to pull yourselves out. Otherwise, you'll be in a coma. People in a coma cannot become wise. So it's not as though you dislike the mind, but the mind which is not used for waking up is something that one has to discard. So this is the very whole sense of it. And we can very quickly, in a few minutes, even see the verse number 31, which is an extension to this. So he says, Swapna Maye Yatha Drishte Gandharva Nagaram Yatha Tatha Vishwamidam Drishtam Vedanteshu Vichakshanai. So he's following up the logic of the verse number 30. What is the verse number 30? The logic of that is that whatever you see appears to be different from you, but it isn't. You are the only reality in the whole creation. My dear, this is the fact. You have to, it's not obviously not clear, and you have to You have to take my word for it. This is what the Shruti is saying. But I don't want to mislead you. I'm just telling you the truth. Whether you see it or not is up to you. And you will see it sooner or later. But the fact of the matter is that you have a higher level of reality than what you see. Just like you have a higher level of reality than your reflection. You have, as a waker, you have a higher level. So this is the logic. So then the example is given, not example, but just the explanation of that. He says, the one which is seen clearly by the wise, vichakshanaihi means ones who are able to see through what is called the third eye. You know, we have seen the third eye of Shiva. So the third eye of Shiva, which symbolically destroys the world, is that eye of the wise that symbolically destroys the samsara. Samsara means that the way you look at the world immediately changes. How does it change? From being real to just apparently real. So that is the vichakshanai. And in Vedanteshu means by the topic. So this is Vishaya Saptami. So in the subject of Vedanta, one who have in other words, a logic which follows the Shruti, the yukti which follows the Shruti. What do they see? They say that swapnamaye yatha drishte, that the whole world is like a dream. It's like a movie. Like a movie. And a movie has a completely different way of looking at things. Swami Paramarthananda uses the word entertainment. So he says that right now it is not entertaining. It seems I am struggling. I have problems with it, and I'm worried, and I have anxiety, and all those kinds of things. But once I understand that the anxiety is not necessary, because this is a movie, and you cannot, and so don't go through the path of saying, I don't like this movie, I want another movie. Have the fact that I want enjoyment with or without a movie. I am free, I am okay without a movie, I am okay with a movie. Doesn't matter. And so that is so swapnamaye yatha drishte Gandharva Nagaram. So Gandharva Nagaram, in fact, I would say that the Gandharva Nagaram means that there's, this used to happen in the villages when there were no movies, some very skilled magician would look at the clouds in the sky and make different shapes from it. It's almost like mesmerizing people. Say, do you see that person? And is that dark-looking person that is attacking the light color, and the light color is attacking the dark? Like that. This is what's called Gandharva Nagaram. And people also got mesmerized and they enjoyed it. So here Swami Maheshananji says the modern version of Gandharva Nagaram is a movie. It is a movie. There's no reality to it. All of a sudden, you are the very screen on which this whole movie is being run. And so that was there. On Swapna Maya means the dream, which is also a kind of like a movie. It's like a movie. So he says, Tatha Vishwamidam Drishtam. So when you are able to see this, and it's not easy to see this, but eventually you will see this. Just follow this and follow your... And so here's interesting, the advice is that you have to do mananam. It's not going to be... So this is what is called Atma Kripa. So you have Ishvara Kripa, you have Shastra Kripa, you have Guru Kripa. But then you also have to have Atma Kripa. So Atma Kripa means that you must have the ability to think. If you don't, then Lord cannot help you. Like Krishna cannot help Arjuna unless he says, Arjuna, think. You have covered your eyes with some wrong things. But if you think, but the thinking has to be done properly. Because using yukti without shruti is misusing a knife. Exactly like that. It's in the hands of a child that can hurt itself. But the knife is a very important thing. You just have to learn how to use it properly. So this was really, I think all these examples that came from Swami Maheshananji and so on really solidified the one thing in my mind is the connection between yukti and shruti. And his example to say that you cannot completely rely on your mind because the mind itself is false. So you have to rely on the mind which is following the truth in order for you to wake up. This is what was very nice to see this. Anyway, I will close off now. That is the beginning of, after going through the long listing of what people say, then he says the way one should think about is that anything that you perceive is basically not different from your own reflection. You know, we saw this same thing about Shraddha, because what really makes you useful about something is your own Shraddha. You just believe in something and that is your own Shraddha that really gives you a certain solace. It is not just a piece of stone, but how you look at it as you, that is what is important. And here this takes it all the way up to the feeling that really speaking, anything that you see is nothing but your own reflection. And that's what you have to investigate. Who am I? How am I different from this? So that's how the trend of the teaching goes. So with that I'll close. Om Swasti Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahi Mahisha Gobhamanebhya Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samastha Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Varshatu Pajjanyaha Prithvi Sasya Shalini Deshoyam Shobharahitaha Brahmana Santu Nirbhayaha Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityo Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Hari Om. Yeah.
So when you say the Shruti-based yukti, when you apply, that to see the negation of all your experiences. Right? So basically then you see the mithyatvam, or the real, what is the true behind all your experience. So each time that you, based on your shruti, you apply yukti.
Right, right.
Okay.
So it has not just that, but the very principles of the Shruti, the truth about it. So, for example, the fact that nothing can ever be born, it's only a manifestation. That Ishvara is there all the time, you are there all the time, is given by Shruti. So the mithyatvam is only one aspect of it, but there is a whole set of principles that one has to follow. That time itself is mithya. That means timelessness is the satyam. Where is that satyam? So, how is that not possible to be just be yourself? What is the definition of satyam? So the definition of satya means one which is never not true under any circumstances. Is that possible? Yes. Where is that? That's you. So this is the Shruti means the mithyatvam is only one aspect of it, but the entire set of concepts and principles that one has to understand in totality.
So behind everything is you that are ever present.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is what is meant by, and so then because our mind says, what? You must be kidding. No, I'm not kidding you. But I don't get it. Exactly. Why don't you get it? Don't you follow this, follow this, follow this, follow this, follow this? That following that means disciplining the mind to follow what is being said. So we have to follow. As this whole, all the Karika examples were saying, that you know, the life is all about learning. The question is, what do I learn? The one that I should learn is to say that you are the whole, everything else is not there. Even though it is the most unlikely and difficult thing for me to see, but that is the truth. What can we say? So, at least it ends well. It would be terrible to say, you know, enjoy life because at the end there is nothingness. There is just the opposite.
Opposite, everything.
We'll say just tolerate problems because in the end it is tragedy. It is beautiful. All the tragedy is gone and it's just wonderful. Isn't that this is what we should follow? Yeah.
So we were talking about Shruti, Yukti and Anubhava.
Yeah.
So the Anubhava then is our experience that we are none other
Quite
than the
right.
reflection.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Anubhava means, I guess the Anubhava can be looked at in two ways. One is that you do have the Anubhava of Advaita at night.
And sleep.
So you cannot say, you know, that how can this be true? Hey, just look at it. This is number one. More importantly, if you follow this, you will have the Anubhava while you are awake. All the wise people say, yep, don't doubt it. And they are not proselytizers. They don't have a religion to communicate. They're quietly sitting there and saying, just follow this. So that is also the Anubhava. Yeah, sorry.
Arvind online was asking, does, I guess he's talking about 30 also indicate Neti and Iti? analysis and synthesis approach?
So if he is referring to the fact that neti neti means, yeah, it is saying this exactly the same thing. So naiti, so there it's repeated twice, which means no sthula sharira, no sukshma sharira. So both the physicality of what you see, as well as thoughts of what you know, and so on, both of them have really no reality. You alone are the reality. It is saying exactly the same thing, yeah.
The prakriya that you're mentioning about reflection, then here we're reflecting medium, which is something outside when I look at my reflection in the mirror.
Correct.
When I analyze myself like this, it seems that the reflecting medium is also something just projected by myself as well. Is that a way for us to...
Yes, so that's the mind. So the mind that converts my thinking into something which is not true is sort of like the mirror. Like the mirror is an upadhi. So the mirror has the ability to confuse me. In fact, so much so, they say that the dog starts barking. If you show the mirror to a dog, it doesn't realize that there's no other dog. And so the mirror has the ability to create an alternate reality. So the mind also is like that itself is an object, a vastu, that creates the alternate reality for mind. So this is why it is saying that you cannot completely rely on the mind also. This is what the yukti and shruti is, that it is like you are in the dream. So if you just follow your own logic, that's why we completely negate all scientific analysis. So there's the Vaisheshikas and Nayayikas. It appears to be very well done, and people get PhDs and so on, so much so that if they are in this class, they'll say, what is this BS people are talking about? You cannot duplicate in consciousness and so on. Anyway, so all of that is the false reality which is projected by my mind. But the mind itself is not real, unless it is following the tenets of Vedanta, which will say, hey, don't you see that whatever you are seeing is false? So I don't know if I answered your question or not. You still have a look which says...
Well, just in analyzing, so the reflecting medium is also projection myself.
Yes, it is.
It's
Yes,
not just the reflection.
very much so. Just like in a dream, your status as a dreamer is also false. But your status as a dreamer then projects the rest of the dream. Yeah. In fact, Swami Maheshananji Singh, I think, had given this example. Swami Paramarthanand, I think. He said, you are looking through your glasses. Okay? So the glasses, supposing you don't see anything. You are really short-sighted. And you have to wear the glasses to clarify things. So there are two things going on. One is you are seeing the projection of the world through your glasses, but you're also seeing the glasses. You see, so you're seeing the glasses as an object, and you're seeing the projection of the world through this thing called the glasses. So very similarly, you are looking at your mind, but you're also looking at the projection of the world by the mind. Yeah. I don't know if that helps you. Okay, so there'll be no class next Saturday.
You're going?
I'm going to the ashram for the anniversary and also for the opening of this huge new building. So it'll be, they're starting to hold some things before, but the next Saturday will be a huge function. And so when I was talking to Swami Viditatmananda, he says, why don't you come? So my wife is also coming with us, with me, and so I'll be gone there. That the function is on Saturday itself. No, it's on Sunday. It's on Sunday, but I cannot get there unless I take a red eye, which I don't want to do. So I have to leave very early Saturday morning, so there'll be no class. So we will meet again 2 weeks from today. Okay?
Tuesday, would that be possible for us to go? Because today he could not do it. And plus, I didn't want it to last minute change to your second class, so.
So you're
To
talking
see
about you've talked to him, some possibilities
Yeah.
upstairs?
Yeah. Do we want to do that right away? No. Let them, we can just do 2 moves if we want to.
No, I'm sorry, what you're saying that right now we'll be looking at the bottom only, same place that we saw before, finalizing
For a year
that.
at least, year and a half, whatever, then
Okay.
they're gonna, and then we can just go up. As while they are doing that, we can just go up. And then one of the time we can just close the section, or maybe a couple weeks. You know, we can be flexible to rent back here or whatever.
Was there any discussion about costs at all?
That's what we have to, because what we want first, you know, and then we can just talk about that one.
Okay.
Initially, it will be less cost for, so how long that is going to be. Maybe a year we got buy off from there.
Okay.
And then,
Sure.
you know, we can do something
So
like
you
that.
would
But
like
that
to do that on
negotiation-
Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday before that. So let me just see what time he will be, like
Okay.
5 o'clock or
Okay,
something. Then
that sounds good.
we can just grab small dinner and come
Sure.
to the class or something. Right? Okay.
Excuse me, I'm taking leave because I will also be not there next Saturday.
Oh.
I'm going to Santiago back.
Okay.
From there I will go back to India.
Oh, you will
This
go
is
back.
a well-spent vacation for me. Saturdays I really enjoyed it.
So
This is a
nice.
continuation of whatever I was doing in India. So there, every day it is there, that's all.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course. Which
Because
town
I
is-
want it every day, but it's not possible
No,
here.
not possible here. Yeah.
Because everyday touch means you are inside it.
No, it's important to do this.
Yeah.
Vedo nityam adhiyate.
Yeah.
So where are you in India again? Remind me.
I'm at New Bombay actually,
New Bombay.
which is 30 kilometers from Bombay.
Okay.
Yeah.
North.
So there, So there is an ashram called Bharatiya Darshan Adhyatmik Kendra.
Okay.
It's not Dayananda.
Okay.
There, Mahamandaleshwar is there.
Okay.
So he is Mohananand Giri Maharaj. So he is the one who does this. But he also brings different sannyasis from outside.
Okay.
That way it is working, because it may not be only from Haridwar or anything. It can be from Rishikesh, can be from some other ashram. But they are all very well versed in scholars. They are all scholars in such.
So they teach or
They teach. They teach.
So they teach.
Both morning and evening. Morning is Vedanta. Evening
Okay.
is a lighter subject like Gita or
Correct.
Bhagavatam or
Yeah,
something
this
like
is how
that.
it is done. This is how.
Because evening is not geared for Upanishad.
Upanishad.
Upanishad is only in the morning.
So the students that learn the Upanishads, who are they? Are they householders?
They are
that
all,
come in the
they are
morning?
householders, they are all aged people also, householders also.
Okay.
Yeah, youngsters are also coming nowadays because they are also interested nowadays, very much.
Of course.
They are very much interested.
Vijay, Tuesday won't happen. I completely forgot I have appointment at UCSF.
Oh.
So by the time I come back.
Well,
and then-
propose some other time, I'll be willing to come.
Wednesday or,
Yeah.
let me just do that.
Huh? I can come.
So nothing to conflict with our
Okay,
class.
all right.
I actually landed there by accident only, that ashram, because I never got this thing, that what is Brahma Sutra. Brahma Sutra, I searched for Brahma Sutra everywhere, teaching. I couldn't get it. So I said I wanted it. Then one day just saw a board, oh, we are going to start this. That was the time when I landed over there.
Wonderful.
From then on, I have never left it. Because it was so interesting. Because that was the thing which I wanted. The other Upanishads I had seen. I have little bit knowledge is there. This is very difficult.
Wonderful.
Okay.
So really enjoyed it.
Sorry,
That's
we
one-
Here also I
that's one
enjoyed
didn't
it.
get the picture.
Thank you, thank you.
You have to get the sound. Click.
Sujata, Sucheta, I don't know.
I tried one day, I got it.
Can you take it? I can do it on my camera and send it.
Just-
That's what I'm saying.
Click anywhere.
I think it's on a video. There's a video now.
No video. Go to the picture.
Thank you so much.
No, it didn't. I
Ah.
don't know if I got it or not. Did you get it? No, not video.
Sir, what is your name, sir?
Veera Raghavan.
Veera
Veera Raghavan.
Veera Raghavan.
It always goes
Okay.
to ADC.
Not video. Which one is it?
And so you are, is the Brahma Sutra finished?
That's over.
I will
Because
show
it
the
took
picture.
3-4 years. actually.
Okay.
Did
4
you-
years
did
it
you hear
took.
that click sound? No.
Because we went elaborately.
It
Because
is
it is not that easy. Even the first Adado Brahma Jijnasa took at least
that's the
nearly
very-
about 20-30 days it went.
Yeah. So in our reading with Swami Dayanandji,
Yeah.
he took the first 4.
Yeah.
That's all he did.
Chatursutra Bhashi, they
Chatursutra
call it
Bhashi.
Chatursutra Bhashi.
Then
also.
the rest of it we studied ourselves. I finished. I haven't finished it, but I am about more than halfway through.
No, I have tried doing that alone, but it is not clear like what it is getting from my sannyasi.
Yeah.
That I find the difference. Anyhow, I really enjoyed it
Oh,
because
so
of your
wonderful. That's excellent.
good teaching.
Very happy that you
Nice
were
tradition
here.
is kept over here. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, we got it. That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you. But the video also. This is video.
Video is okay?
This is video.
Yeah.
Take a
Take a
picture. So sorry. Sorry. Just you can see.
Got it?
No, they got a video.
Wait a minute. So I have to go back to the pictures again.
Got the video. That's okay.
Two, huh?
Oh. Thank you so much. Wonderful. This is so nice for.
I just wanted them. They have a fundraising every year.
Uh-huh.
So Chandra came to that also.
Oh, Chandra also came.
And
I
they
see.
came.
Oh,
He was
wonderful.
asking me, they didn't show they were showing who they are
Uh-huh.
contributing to. He said, how come they didn't show the aim for save? I said, I didn't give it yet.
Oh, that was
That's why they didn't show me. Yeah,
Wonderful. Good.
Have you replaced the battery on this one?
I have not done it for a
Yeah.
while. Maybe that's the issue.
Could be.
His pants are dropping.
Although yeah, you need to check the
He needs a
check the
belt.
battery.
Yeah.
So basically, you press this thing to open it, right? And then the battery comes out.
Okay.
I mean,
No, I changed it, but not recently.
yeah.
So-
It's 2027, so it's a long-lasting one.
Uh-huh.
Great.
It's just that sometimes, anyway, it's time to get a new one anyway.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
think
better
so.
to have a spare
Yeah,
one.
this is important, so
Yeah.
we should get it.
Sure.
Okay. Good.
I think having a.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna go get my
Is that
phone.
clock okay now? I think it might be okay. Yeah, 9:50.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so
Good,
I
good, good.
got it jiggling a
Okay.
little bit.
So Raj and Chandra, then we're gonna continue with the current.
I think so. I think
Oh,
it's
yeah,
a problem.
yeah.
Just
I think that's too late for
See,
us
the
to.
assignment is a very complex map.
It's a very yeah.
That map is complex, you cannot import
Well,
it
they
into
do
the.
it for other theaters.
Yeah, but those are
We have to set it up and,
Yeah.
it's a site where
There's
people
Sulekha,
do
we
buy
have to go
tickets
through
and
that.
stuff like that.
And I
So
think
later
it is
we have to
best
do that.
done at a central level because people need to test it.
Exactly.
People should not be doing it on their own.
And separately, by
Yeah.
themselves,
No, in Sulekha we did that, Sri Lanka ticket eventing,
Okay,
we have to upload the map.
exactly, we have to
Same map.
upload it and then, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's complex, it's
Yeah.
not, that's why they charge money, because that is a bit more complex.
So, yeah, we don't know how to do that, so for now, we'll just let it pass. They'll do that. They have, they're looking at another one also, the brown
Mhm.
paper or
Sure.
whatever, so.
Yeah.
So I'll work on the first newsletter.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I noticed was, what we need to do is to very prominently tell people about September 28th. Right on the very top. No, it's not there. It's kind of like in,
So you have to read through the
you
whole
have to
thing.
read through this. This should be like,
In the newsletter?
so I want to sort of redo, I was just thinking about it. This is how we should do that. So we'll see.
Sure, sure. Yeah.
What we have is pretty good. They do a little bit more than what we want, but it's not enough. So it's
You went back.
Yeah.
No, the web page, I rearranged the web page, all of it.
You need to send a quick prominent when people come there, they can say, I don't be easy, that kind of thing. You can make
Oh,
it
that,
prominent.
yeah.
Either it'll be,
But then you have to use some
yeah, I'll have material
material.
and
That's
have